I know that right now what you're probably dealing with is anxiety about the impending board exams. And so today, what I'm going to share with you is one simple fact about brain science that will help you cope with exam-related anxiety and stress more effectively. If you understand this one basic dimension of brain science, you will be able to manage your study prep, your emotions, your undulating feelings more effectively. So the human mind, this constantly switches between protection mode and learning mode. And you learn best when you're feeling safe. When fear of any kind, either real or imagined, is activated in your mind, your learning centers simply shut down because the brain is redirecting all your attention and resources towards survival at that point in time. Now, in the earlier days, if you were in a jungle and you were met with a saber-toothed tiger, then you know that you would prepare to run and to survive. But today we don't live in jungles, we live in very competitive environments. And so a lot of our feeling of being unsafe comes from psychological aspects of competition. So even a single fearful thought, such as, what if I don't do well in my exams, can immediately put you into protection mode. And this has a cascading effect on your physiology, hampering your ability to study, because you can either be in survival mode or you can be in learning mode, but you cannot possibly be in both the modes simultaneously. To learn well, that means to comprehend what you're studying, to be able to memorize or to apply your reasoning skills, you need to feel safe. That is of utmost importance. And in the current context, as I mentioned, I'm referring to psychological safety, the feeling that you are well equipped to cope with the forthcoming examinations. So given this, one of the most important things to do is to first develop a detailed study plan by dates, by time, by subject matter, by chapters that you expect to finish, knowing how fast or how slow you absorb information. This plan must include your study breaks, your exercise time, your chill time, your meal breaks, and also allow sufficient time for sleep. The plan needs to be checked daily for red flags in case you have deviated from the schedule that you have set, and buffers need to be maintained for shortfalls in your preparation. I have worked extensively with a lot of students during this period before their board exams over the years, and I cannot overemphasize the need for a very, very meticulous and a detailed study plan. In fact, often enough in personal therapy, I will sit with a student, I will evaluate how much time they take to study certain subjects. And most individuals, some subjects come very naturally and easily to them, and so they think they can cover that syllabus much faster. And some students find some subjects very difficult, and there is a natural resistance in the mind to study those. So we have to draw up this plan in a manner that we address all of these specifics, as well as your own biorhythms. When you study really well, or when you tend to feel sleepy, are you a night student? Are you an early morning type? All of those considerations have to be factored into this study plan. So take a full day if you have to craft the schedule, and then you are likely to feel more in control. Also, be sure that you plan for at least 3 revisions so that there is tremendous confidence. And even if you overspill your syllabus and the time taken, you will at least complete 2 revisions. If despite this, the feeling of being in control is hindered by an unidentified fear of failure of some sort, you will recognize this through the stress symptoms that your body will provide to you through biofeedback. This could be symptoms such as brain fogging, not being able to focus on what you're reading. You may find that you're reading the same paragraph over and over again and that you're just not understanding, or you're not recalling what you've learned. You may have trouble sleeping. You may experience panic attacks. You may end up overeating, or conversely, you may not feel hungry at all. You may feel extremely tired and exhausted, or want to sleep all the time. Now, all of these are simply stress symptoms, and they differ from individual to individual. And this is a clear indication that there are some hidden limiting beliefs about your preparation or fears about performance. So what should you do if you find yourself in this anxious state? Fear has two components. There is always a thought and an accompanying feeling. So first, you must identify what all fearful thoughts or beliefs that you have. For example, you may think that, or realize that you are fearful, I will forget all the important points I'm studying, or I may not be able to finish my paper in time, or I might just go blank when I have to answer, when I'm asked a question. Whatever be those beliefs, those negative beliefs, those fears, you need to make a list of them, and then you need to release them. There is a very simple method which, after years of studying, experimenting, and understanding the human physiology and the human brain, I have developed. It's a very simple method. You can just sit calmly. Once you've identified what your negative belief is, you take your fingertips, which are electromagnetic. There is a governing meridian in the top of your head all the way back to your head. And you have to simply run your fingers over your head, which is called the swipe. And you release the belief by declaring it. So let's say my belief is, I will forget important points. You start swiping and say, I release the belief that I will forget important points. I release the belief that I will forget important points. Now you do the swipe about 4 or 5 times. When you start feeling that I may not forget the points, this indicates that you have electromagnetically released that belief from your ecosystem, your own biochemistry. That's the first part. And next, you need to ascertain what you need to do in order to address that concern or that worry. So it's not just magic or hocus pocus. There is science to this. The science is difficult for me to go into right now. It has been explained in my book, and maybe after your exams are over, you can study that. But more importantly, let's say if you feel you will forget important points, you may decide to, for certain answers, develop acronyms or a song. These are all parts of NLP techniques, neuro-linguistic programming techniques, that help you remember more effectively. Another very good tool that I like to use is what I call the chessboard. So you take a piece of paper and simply draw a square, and then like a chessboard, you draw smaller squares. You draw vertical lines and horizontal lines. Now, each square represents a concern that you might have. You write your concern or your belief over there, and you write beneath it what you can do to address it. So you may say, I need to do 1 extra revision for this subject, or I need to maybe use a self-hypnosis technique to improve my recall and memory. Some of the tools I will share with you today itself, so you'll be able to apply those. Or you might just find that there are a host of negative beliefs and I need to do belief release work. As the belief arises, as you become aware of them, please do the swipes and keep releasing them so that they don't choke your bandwidth or your time, which is so important, or your attention at this point in time. If you feel you need help with something because you don't really understand a concept, please do not hesitate to ask for help. A lot of students at the 11th hour, when they're this close to their exams, are fearful of reaching out to their teachers because they feel they'll be berated for not having given enough focus earlier. But trust me, I have seen this time and again, teachers are extremely sensitive. Your coaches, your teachers, your tutors, they will all be very willing to come forth and support you if there is a conceptual gap in your mind. So do not hesitate to ask for support. And sometimes you may just need psychological support. You may want a parent or an elder sibling to come and sit with you because you just want to feel safe psychologically. Please ask for that. Do not hesitate to receive help at such times. If you're anxious, but you do not know why you're anxious, you can't identify your beliefs, then your subconscious mind may be worrying about some hidden negative beliefs. You may not know, you may not be aware of what those are. And these may just be some negative what ifs, like you may have prepared well, but you feel that I may not finish writing my paper in time. I may get nervous, so I go blank the morning of the examination. If that is so, then you simply can select on and delete all concerns that are interfering with your ability to study well. So just like you would do it on a computer, select all, delete. You use your imagination to say, I'm selecting all and deleting all negative beliefs that are impacting my ability to study well. Of course, if you're doing belief release work, a great idea is to write down all your negative beliefs on one side, on the left side of the page. On the opposite column, write down all the antidotal positive statements. So if you're saying, I will not remember the answers, the positive statement could be that I will remember all answers easily, naturally, and spontaneously. As I read the questions, the answers will just flow through me. Now, writing these on the right side of the paper allows you to actually prepare the subject matter for your self-hypnosis tape, which I'm going to speak about a little further. And that is one of the most remarkable tools. I have used it over the years with students, and it has proved extremely useful and helpful for them. Now, to reduce the quantum of stress hormones in your body, because when you start getting fearful or anxious, then the body starts releasing excessive cortisol into your bloodstream. For that, you have two solutions. You'll know, I'm feeling very fearful or anxious, or I'm having a panic attack at this point in time. That's when you can either slow down your brainwave frequency because you've gone into a high beta frequency and you need to relax your mind. And one good thing is just to listen to a guided anti-anxiety meditation of about 5-7 minutes. One such meditation is available on my YouTube channel, the Susie Singh YouTube channel. That's the first thing you can do. The second thing that you can do anytime, anywhere is to alter your breath rate. Because when you're anxious, your breathing will become very short and fast. Just altering the breath rate by taking very deep, long breaths, say about 10 deep breaths, will immediately alter your anxiety state. If you can't do that, you can also just do on-the-spot jogging, and that too will alter how you're feeling because your breath rate automatically changes when you jog, and it releases endorphins or happy hormones that will counteract the cortisol flow and stop it. So these are some of the techniques that you can use to effectively counteract the anxiety. I've spoken about the select all delete technique, which is an NLP technique. And remember that because your subconscious mind is actually very, very suggestible, whatever self-talk you have in your head is going to be blindly followed by your mind. So if you're constantly telling yourself, I'm going to forget, I'm going to forget, I'm going to forget, you are likely to forget. And then that belief becomes even stronger because you feel, I knew I was going to forget, and it's affirmed because you actually forget. But what you're not realizing is that you're programming your subconscious mind to forget. In the same manner, you can very mindfully use your attention to program your mind to remember. And that is what self-hypnosis does. So in order to prepare a self-hypnosis tape, like I said, first you identify all possible fears or concerns. You write the affirming antidotal opposite of it, like I will remember everything, I will reach my venue on time, I will be confident while answering questions, I will finish my paper in time, I will have enough time to revise my work, etc., etc. So list your fears and write their positive opposites. Add to that all the goals that you want to achieve. So let's say in a particular subject, you have a goal or an aim of, I will score, I will have a perfect score in maths. I will achieve 95% plus in X paper, in my BST paper, whatever it be. Write down your goals and then write down the experience that you want to go through while preparing for your examinations and during the examination itself when you're writing the paper or answering, going through your viva, etc. This gives you all the statements that you need to put into your self-hypnosis tape. Then you start recording the tape and you move into a very slow-paced, gentle voice, because the minute you alter your voice, breathing will change and you will move into alpha mode, and that's the mode you need to listen and record that self-hypnosis tape. So I'm just going to give you an example. If you're noticing, I'm altering the rate at which I'm speaking. If I were creating a self-hypnosis tape, I would speak in this manner. And now I'm feeling more and more relaxed. With every breath I take, I become calmer and calmer, knowing fully well that I'm going to get a perfect score in my mathematics paper. I'm preparing with ease. All my subjects have been revised with greatest productivity and efficiency, and I'm so pleased at performing so well. You just have to write this down on a piece of paper, put on the recorder on your Android phones or whatever devices you're using, record this, and listen to this last thing before you fall asleep at night. So you are programming your mind for success. Self-hypnosis, like I mentioned, is an extremely powerful tool. It's free for all. Please use it to your advantage. And another thing that's also very useful is future projection technique, which is you actually imagine that you are receiving your board exam results. And if you can add to it all the feelings of being elated at seeing your results, feeling excited, and use your 5 senses to create the experience of receiving your desired result, and imagine this repeatedly, or add it to your self-hypnosis tape, the mind will believe that it has achieved that outcome and will spontaneously support you and work with you to study that effectively and that well. Because the human mind cannot differentiate between reality and imagination when you use all of your 5 senses. So let's say you're imagining the day where results have appeared, you know the results will come around June, the weather will be warm, you can feel yourself sweating just before you see your results, and you're seeing your results, and you have this sudden spurt of joy as you see your score on the screen. So just add all of those 5 sensory feelings or experiences and use that imagination every day. Now, if you do this repeatedly between now and the next few weeks and months that you have before your board exams, you can be assured that you will receive the outcome that you are working towards in that self-hypnosis. Besides these suggestions, I will just mention a few others that I think you will find extremely useful. First is identify your peak performance time. As I briefly mentioned earlier, some people work very well late into the nights because they are night people. Some people like to go to bed early and they can absorb information much better in the morning. A lot of people have a drop in their absorption and attention focus after lunch hours. So that's probably the time you should take your break. So manage your own study schedule based on your biorhythms. The second aspect is there's something called the ultradian rhythm, which is human brain can only have peak focused attention for 90 minutes. And therefore, whenever you do your study schedules, make sure you have a break after 90 minutes of focused study. Take a 10-minute break, and this is what I like to call my 90-10 formula. Study for 90 minutes, take a 10-minute break during which you can use either cross crawls. Cross crawls are simple ways of alternating your body and doing this to touch your knees. Okay, you raise your knees and you use your alternate elbow to touch your knees. This bridges both the brains and allows you to use whole brain technology while you're studying. So use cross crawls. You can also Google how to do cross crawls and just do them during the 10-minute break. Or you can take a brief walk around the house so that you are keeping your body into movement. Movement, incidentally, is the antidote to overthinking. So if you're the sort of person that tends to brood or start worrying or thinking, then movement will help you eliminate that from your mental diet. You must also eat brain foods like almonds, fruits, juices, proteins, dark chocolate, lots of water, and also tell your moms to prepare halwa and sweet meva kind of things, dry fruit built sweet things, because those help you with your brain power and you're burning a lot of energy and calories. Also, I feel that it's probably the only thing you can really look forward to during examination time when you're working so hard. Eating your favorite foods can be the high point of your day. Balancing your left and right brain can also be done besides the cross crawls by managing your study schedule in a fashion where you alternate your study program by using your left brain, which maybe you use something that involves language. So if you've studied English, you can go back to logic the next day, or late afternoon, you can go to mathematics. So try and switch between left and right brain kind of studies so that you can have a whole brain effect and you don't get tired of just doing rote learning or doing one kind of subject. Daily exercises are extremely important. Some people think that we should stop doing everything during examinations, particularly your exercise, but exercise is absolutely critical to success. So I will say, make sure you build in your exercise routine, make sure you have downtime and chill time. The only thing you need to detox from is social media, because that is a complete time stealer. So social media is something you need to be off from. I know a lot of people might say that today we do a lot of our study on social media, but trust me, there is a method to that madness. You need to have check-in times, which is usually later in the day when you've achieved at least 70 or 75% of your daily planned study schedule. You also need to get enough hours of sleep based on your bodily needs. Some people do very well with 6 hours. Some people need 9 hours. It's very unique. It's very individual. And sleep is the most important thing to improve productivity in learning. So make sure you do not become sleep deficit. And it's very important also to check in with yourself emotionally every single day. How am I feeling today? What am I worried about? Because a lot of times students do not realize that they are showing stress symptoms till it becomes chronic or till it becomes really serious and they have a really bad panic attack or a breakdown. It's better to have a hygiene health check-in with yourself daily so that you can address them, release beliefs, and completely avert this whole thing about having a breakdown. You don't need to have a breakdown. You can approach your exams in a very healthy and balanced way. Last but not the least, I would say, please do not compare syllabus, accomplished, studied, revised with your friends, even your best friends, because all that does, comparison puts you into fear psychosis. You will start worrying about, oh my God, I haven't done enough. They're ahead of me. They'll do better. I want to, and it'll just spark off all sorts of negative beliefs. So do not share with them. And if you have questions that you need addressed, it's better to reach out to your mentors or your teachers than to reach out to other students, unless, of course, you have a portal where it's a WhatsApp group where questions are answered and you don't need to engage personally or intimately with other people's study schedules. So those are my top methods and techniques and suggestions for approaching your exams in a very healthy and confident way. And I'd like to now throw open the house to any questions that the students may want me to address and answer.
One of the questions posed was, how do we stop overthinking about exams, especially boards?
So you can't stop overthinking. That is the reality of how the human mind functions, because the human brain has a negativity bias. The mind is more drawn towards negative thoughts than it is towards positive, which is why the answer lies in mindfulness. And being mindful that this is the tendency of the human mind to think negative and fearful thoughts. And therefore, following what I call the ABC approach, which is A is anti-anxiety meditation. The minute that you feel that, okay, I'm beginning to get a little anxious, just use the link that I'm going to provide to you. Listen to that for 10 minutes. Just lie back, relax, listen to that, follow the guided meditation, and you've nipped the bud. The second thing is B, which is control your breath. So immediately alter your breath rate. Start taking 4 or 5 deep breaths. And the third is try and gain control through action, which I've spoken about, which is ask yourself, what am I fearful about? And then release the belief and take the action. If you're fearful that you haven't revised a subject enough, then you need to get into an extra revision there or a particular chapter or whatever it be. Now, gaining control through action is heavily dependent on the study schedule, which I've spoken of in detail. So make sure you do that. Follow the ABC, anti-anxiety, altering breath rate, and being in control of your study schedule.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question is, what steps can be taken by students when they are easily distracted during their studies?
Okay, so let's understand what distraction really means. I spoke about the human mind being in protection mode or in learning mode. When you're distracted, you're in protection mode. That means you're fearful about something. There are some fearful thoughts in your mind. And how do we go into survival mode? We have 4 responses. We will either fight, take flight, we will freeze, or we will fawn. So fighting is when you try and study harder and harder, you're not absorbing anything. You will stop taking breaks and you will start getting frustrated that I am studying nonstop for 3 hours and I'm not absorbing anything. That's called fighting. And at that point in time, you need to just take the break and come back. Even a walk in nature, just go out for a walk in the garden or be out in the sun. Just come back and you'll be ready to study again. Flight is when you get distracted. So flight is, I don't want to study. I don't understand this subject. I don't want to do this. You take flight and you take distraction by browsing the social media. You will want to watch something on television. You'll want to do something else. That distraction is, there is a hidden fear there. Sit down, come into awareness, ask yourself what's making me fearful, use the chessboard technique, write it down, release your beliefs, and believe me, you'll be able to focus back on your attention. Freeze is, I don't understand, I can't focus on what's going on. Again, work with your fearful beliefs. And fawning is, A lot of times students will spend a lot of time preparing notes very neatly, drawing lines neatly, doing a lot of very neat written work, but they are not doing enough study or not progressing or being productive in their syllabus. These are the 4 ways in which you are avoiding your fear. So I will come back to what's at the root cause is your fear. Address your fear. Face it, deal with it through belief release, through action, through addressing your concern.
How to handle hints of anxiety or panic attack during exam?
So the solution to that again is, why are you waiting? What are you telling yourself when you say that? Examine that statement. You're actually suggesting to your mind, I am going to have a panic attack during the examination. You're programming yourself for that. And I have spoken about the self-hypnosis tape. So if you use future projection and the self-hypnosis tape, every day you listen to it, you create that tape and see yourself writing your exam calmly, smoothly, totally relaxed. You are not ever going to have that panic attack. The mind is suggestible. You are writing the program that your mind is blindly going to follow. The minute, and fear is very sticky. It's a very powerful emotion. So if you have a thought, I'm going to have a panic attack, and you have a strong fear associated with it, you have actually created a very powerful program to have that breakdown during the exam. I'm saying use the antidote. The antidote is future projection through imagination or guided imagination and the self-hypnosis tape. Those are the 2 techniques you need to use.
Thank you, ma'am. Uh, Another query is that during a pandemic, we had online classes where there was a compulsion to stay on social media like WhatsApp for communication with teachers and school. How to stay focused?
So like I mentioned, you need to have check-in times on social media. If you have your phone close by, then you will always be tempted to look at the phone and you will lose time. The best thing to do, and I know kids hate this suggestion, but it's the most powerful suggestion, is I suggest keep a basket in your, or a place in your parents' room where you go and deposit your phones. And when you're taking your breaks, maybe a lunch break or post-lunch break, when you know you're going to be a little slow and sleepy, that's the time to just check in and see if there's any update that you need to attend to, because anyway, it's your break time or your chill time and you can address that. You don't need more than 2 check-in times during the day. So don't keep the phone with you, keep the phone away. That is merely an excuse your mind is making to make you lose time or to distract you from focusing attention because you're fearful.
Another query is how to keep your motivation on or self-confidence on, especially during pandemic. Students have experienced a loss of motivation and self-confidence.
So I'd like to say this to everyone. We are speaking about the pandemic, but my dear children, I think it's important for you to know that by divine grace, I think we are now exiting the pandemic. It's behind us. We've been through the worst. You've survived it and you've done a very good job of it. I want you now to focus on your dreams and aspirations. It's not about the board exams. What is it that you dream of becoming in your lives? Draw your energy, your confidence, your strength from, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm passionate about. I see myself accomplishing this. Think about your dream colleges. See yourself being there. Think about the new life you want to create for yourselves and say, I'm going to do it. Nothing can stop me because I'm unstoppable. So I think you need to all shed off the pandemic attitude and switch on this. It's a bright future out there. The pandemic is behind me. Focus on your dreams and aspirations. Focus on what you want to accomplish and nourish those dreams.
Another query which I can see is a student wants to know, how does one keep faith in one's abilities when you're surrounded by students who are studying more and you are scared that they might score more than you?
Yes, this is what I said. Do not exchange notes. Do not exchange notes. It's the worst thing you can do. I know the temptation is extremely high, particularly when you have close friends, late in the evening, when you call each other and say, Acha, kitna syllabus khatam ho gaya? Where are you? Where am I? Don't do that. Comparison is a destructive force. You are walking into a trap. And trust me, there is enough room for everyone to find admissions into fantastic colleges across the world and in the country itself. Do not worry about how they might excel or do better than you. Focus on how brilliantly you are going to perform. If you're going to focus your attention on other people's success, you are actually shortchanging your own success. Don't do that. Stand up for yourself and say, I am going to focus for my own self. I am going to build myself up, not run myself down.
One more query which I can see. How can I maintain a healthy balance between fun and studies?
So fun has to be built into your schedule, which is why I've talked about chill time in the study schedule. It's very, very important that you schedule for those times, and it's okay for you to laugh and have fun and clown around. Just because you're prepping for your exams doesn't mean that you become morose and serious. Don't lose your humor around your exams. Humor is really, really important. So whatever gives you joy, and it's better if joy is more linked to passion and isolation. For example, if you like listening to music or playing a musical instrument or doing crosswords or just going for a walk, because any social activity will distract you at this point in time. So you can't really go out and party with your friends. You can't do things like that, which is why focus on individual passions, things that keep you in the creative flow.
Thank you, ma'am. Are taking anti-anxiety pills helpful?
I usually do not recommend them unless the anxiety is very extreme. If it is extreme, then definitely it is useful, and you will need to speak to a psychiatrist for that so that he can advise you the different type of salt, the quantum of medication to be taken, the grammage to be consumed. And there's no harm in taking medication if that's the advice of the doctor.
Another query. How to deal with feelings of loneliness so that they don't interfere with our preparation?
Loneliness can be a natural thing around this time because, to study, you have to retreat from the world. It's like a hermit goes into their hermitage when they're trying to go into meditative silence. And so if you are a very extroverted person, then yes, this can be a difficult period. But I suggest that you, again, plan for bonding time in your breaks. Try and call relatives, close friends, close cousins, and not school friends. I'm talking maybe, some friends in the colony you can go down for a walk with, or sometimes it's just useful to have a parent or a sibling come and sit with you and to chat with them so that you do not feel totally disconnected from the world. There is some sense of connection, but I would suggest do not depend on your peer group for that connection, because that can become very competitive around exam time.
One more query is that what if we fall sick just before the exam? They're anxious about that.
Okay, I just want all the students to examine their mental self-talk. These are beliefs. These are exactly the sort of fearful thoughts that I'm speaking about. These are fearful future thoughts. There is no reason for your physiology to not be strong enough, healthy enough, well enough to be able to take on this exam pressure. You are not exposed. You are not going out. You are sitting at home. You are studying. There is no question of you falling sick, except if you program yourself to fall sick as a way to escape the anxiety of the exam. So whosoever is asking this question, I would like those students or that student to ask themselves, am I terrified of the exams? I sense there is an enormous amount of hidden fear there. There is a sense of lack of preparedness. And okay, I can read a comment saying, I have actually fallen sick right now. Nurture yourself. If you are sick right now, and if that is a cough and cold kind of illness, then chicken soup for your cold and cough. Eat the kind of warm foods. Keep yourself protected from the cold, because we are likely to get into a very wicked winter this year. And self-care is very important. If you are going to take self-care, if you're going to be well clad on the days you go out for your examinations or when you take your little nature breaks, I am sure you're going to be fine. If you're particularly worried about this aspect, then build that into your self-hypnosis tape, that you see yourself as completely healthy. And again, you can use another meditation on my YouTube channel, which was a COVID protection tape for people who were going through a lot of anxiety that they were going to come down with COVID. You could just listen to it, replace the COVID terms with I am healthy and well before my exams, and record your own I am healthy guided meditation for yourselves and listen to it every night. You'll be perfectly fine.
A student would like to know, what is a healthy diet plan for a class 12 student?
Okay, so like I mentioned before, it's very important that you have brain foods like almonds, broccoli, fruits, fresh fruits, juices, dark chocolate, proteins. These are very important. Oats in your breakfast, fresh juices through the day to keep you hydrated, loads and loads of water. And I do add halwas, because that's something that mums are very happy to prepare for their children who are studying so hard. And if you like milk, then there are a lot of additives to the milk, the protein X, etc., that is good for study time and periods like this, and also boost your immunity.
How do you think one can deal with the stress which comes along with the announcement of the results of examination?
I think that's putting the cart before the horse. There's still a lot of time for the results to appear. I think we should focus on exam preparation right now. And once we're done with the exams and when we're approaching the results, we can have a separate session on that perhaps, because I do not want students to preoccupy their mental talk and their mind space with anxiety about results, when they should actually be focusing about how can I prepare to the best of my capability. So stay focused on preparing well right now. What you put in today will determine what that outcome tomorrow is. So give it your 200% today. Don't worry about the outcome. Another suggestion that I will make to students is it's very important for all of you to spend some time doing mock examinations and giving yourself the opportunity to give those mock exams exactly as you would give them in the real examination state, which is maybe isolate yourself in a room, time yourself, answer those papers. What that does is, once a mind has gone through an experience, it is not so fearful about repeating that experience in the actual state. So it'll give you a tremendous amount of confidence to give yourself mock examinations. It also gives you the time to effectively time manage yourself. All of you know that you know the prior breakup of marks. You know you have 6 markers and you have 4 markers and 1 marker, and you should have a broad understanding of how much time you need to invest in each question, which ones you'd like to address first, because some students like to address the lower mark questions first. Some people like to address the long questions first. Please identify your individual style to maximize performance during the exam time. And having prepared for that will make you feel extremely confident when you actually go in to give your exam. And it will alleviate all of the anxiety that you're feeling, because You feel, oh, I've done this. It's like saying if you've driven a car once and you're going for a driving test, it's not going to bother you so much.
Ma'am, there are two more. Would you like to take them up?
Yeah. Okay, the first one was something about not having enough time for physical activity. Physical activity is extremely important. I would suggest that you give yourself about 20 minutes of exercise time every day, even if they are just cross crawls. A lot of my students who are putting in, let's say, 14 hours to 16 hours of study time before their exams, I tell them, I said, during your breaks, give yourself 5 minutes of cross crawl practice, give yourself some jogging practice. If you like to ride a bike and you're going out, just go and cycle downstairs, do whatever you need to, but give yourself those 20 minutes of exercise. You can also do yoga in the house. You can do just Surya Namaskar, if nothing else. And for that, you don't need very big places. You could just be in a balcony and do that. But try and build in some physical exercise into your day.
How to handle everything together, like studies, tuitions, coachings, extracurricular studies, activities, school projects, etc. Yes.
Well, I think everybody has a certain capacity to do. And if you stretch something too much, the rubber band's going to break. So you have to let go of some things. In the past, what I have advised students is that, can you miss some tuitions if you need self-study time? If your attendance is at par, can you skip a few school days if you need more study time? Can you try and nap in the cars and take power naps when you're driving to tuitions if sleep is suffering? You will have to be creative about what you give up. So here is where you need to prioritize and see what is it that I need to give up in order to rebalance and recenter myself based on my own capacity without letting go of being relaxed. We all have a breaking point. We need to identify what that breaking point is, and we need to stop before that. So some students, for example, when I'm working on their schedule, say, we just can't study more than 8 hours a day. Some students say, okay, I can do up to 13 hours a day. That's a very individual decision. So you need to see how it works for you. Give up something. Please don't be tempted. Your parents will tell you do everything. My suggestion is always give up something for the sake of balance. Very, very important. And there was another question I think I just saw shortly, which is what can we do if you're getting stressed in the examination hall? Now, trust me, if you have prepared your self-hypnosis tape and used it, you can add one more dimension into the self-hypnosis tape, or you can use this as a suggestion which you program your mind with, which is every time I bring these two fingertips together to form a circle of safety and peace, I immediately become calm. Repeat this to yourself before you go to sleep and bring your fingers together like that. If you do this every day for 10 to 15 seconds before you fall asleep, in the examination hall, when you're finding yourself getting stressed, say the same statement. And even if you don't say the statement and you bring these two fingertips together, you will instantly relax because you have programmed your mind. This is relaxation. So try this circle of safety technique.
Thank you so much.
I want to say two things before I leave, that a lot of times people seek answers and solutions, but they do not practice them. And I want to let you know that unless you practice the techniques that I've given you, you are not going to benefit. And if you practice them, trust me, you will find them magical. I have dealt with students from your school itself in the past, previous batches, who 3 days before their board exams had such a bad breakdown that they said their parents were willing to let them skip the board exams. I've had children like that sit in my clinic here, worked with them for 2 nights before that, and they did brilliantly in their exams. So, and all the techniques that I've shared with you were techniques I have used with them. So trust me, over the last many years, these techniques have been tried and tested. I would urge students, please use them to your advantage. You all have enormous potential. And the reason for me being here today is because I want to see each one of you maximize your potential. The second thing I want you to be careful about is be careful about your negative mental self-talk. Awareness and mindfulness is a very important tool. Nip it in the bud if your mind is telling you negative thoughts, negative fears, or criticizing your ability to perform. You are all stars. You will excel, and have that extreme and utmost faith in yourself. And my prayers are always with you. I'm sure you're going to do yourself proud. You're going to do your school proud. And you're all going to set the example for your future generations in the school, because you have all dealt with your mental health so brilliantly. Thank you so much.